Has the identity of Jack the Ripper finally been solved? For over a century, one of history's greatest mysteries has kept true crime enthusiasts and historians alike searching for answers. Who was Jack the Ripper? The infamous killer who terrorized London in the late 1800s left behind gruesome crime scenes, cryptic letters, and an unsolved puzzle that has captivated the world. But now one historian claims he's finally cracked the case, with DNA evidence to prove it. Russell Edwards, a true crime investigator and historian, has identified a 100% match that he believes reveals the real identity of the notorious serial killer. And the name? Aaron Kosminski. Kosminski was a 23-year-old Polish immigrant working as a barber in Whitechapel, the very area where Jack the Ripper struck. He had long been considered a suspect, but there was never enough proof until now, according to Edwards. "Oh, without a doubt, it's him," Edwards told News Nation. His claim is based on DNA testing from a key piece of evidence, a shawl found at the murder scene of one of Ripper's victims, Catherine Eddowes. Edwards purchased the shawl in 2007 and had it tested using DNA from Kosminski's oldest brother's great-great-granddaughter. Kosminski spent his final years in a mental institution where he died in 1919. To bring his identity to life, Edwards even commissioned a facial reconstruction based on old family photos. Edwards says, "This face is a facial reconstruction by an expert from the family photos that were given to me by one of the family members, by one of the descendants. That's actually what he looked like." His findings are detailed in his book, Naming Jack the Ripper: The Definitive Reveal. While Edwards' claims are explosive, not everyone is convinced. DNA expert Jarrett Ambo argues that the evidence simply isn't strong enough to make a definitive identification. He points out that the testing used mitochondrial DNA, which isn't as precise as nuclear DNA. For context, nuclear DNA is the genetic material found inside the nucleus of a cell, containing most of an organism's genetic information, while mitochondrial DNA is a smaller amount of DNA located within the mitochondria, organelles responsible for energy production within the cell. The key difference is that nuclear DNA is inherited from both parents, while mitochondrial DNA is only inherited from the mother. Jarrett Ambo goes on to say, "It doesn't have the kind of power to identify someone individually that nuclear DNA has, or cellular DNA. We have the second problem of the fact that this DNA is degraded over years." Which leads us on to our next issue, the shawl's chain of custody. The fabric spent over a century passing through unknown hands before ending up in a police filing cabinet. Ambo says, "What about all the other people that touched this item in the 137 years between the date of the murder and the date it was tested? The information just isn't there in the science to be able to show exactly when the DNA was deposited and by whom." Despite these concerns, the theory has reignited public fascination with the case. Jack the Ripper's crimes weren't just a British mystery. They became a global obsession, sparking various books, TV shows, and movies, all painting a picture of what happened in that fateful year of 1888 in East London. While the DNA evidence is compelling, skepticism remains. Getting a meaningful nuclear DNA profile from Victorian-era evidence requires remarkable preservation, minimal contamination, cutting-edge technology, and known comparative samples, all of which present big challenges to this case being solved. But it's not an absolute impossibility for future scientific breakthroughs. Every day, science and technology is getting better, more precise, and more accurate. So this breakthrough could just be yet another important step in finally solving the mystery of who was Jack the Ripper.